No, we should start. We can start.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's library lecture, Storytelling and Remembrance, with Dr. Ulrika Wiethaus and special guest, Ms. Harriet Nordland. Dr. Wiethaus and Ms. Nordland will discuss Sami oral traditions and their revitalization in contemporary Sami theater. Ms. Nordland is an actress, playwright, and director, as well as the head of the cultural department of Jokkmokk, Sweden, the Center for the Native Sami People of Lula Valley. She was the former artistic director of Beavash Sami Theater. Dr. Wiethaus is professor of religion and director of religion and public engagement here at Wake Forest University. And now we'll turn the program over to Dr. Wiethaus and Ms. Nordland.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us, Carolyn, and thank you for the library and all the librarians to have this wonderful series and that opportunity for us in the classroom to interact with a larger community. I'm very, very grateful, and thank you so much for having us. And it's a great pleasure to have Ms. Harriet Nordland with us all the way from Sweden. And Ms. Nordland arrived on Saturday, and yesterday we spent the day with Guilford Native American Association and had a very good time. And there are several other programs this week before Ms. Nordland is going back home to Sweden. And I cordially invite you to an open workshop tomorrow afternoon, 4 o'clock till 6:15 in the Collins Lounge. So that is open to the public. And so welcome. And Harriet, we talked already quite extensively about your work as a playwright, as an actress, as a community educator, and as an activist. And so I would like to start our conversation today for you to tell us a little bit about the history of the Sami people and the current situation for your people.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I stand up?
Yes, please.
Because I'm so short, I have to sit on like a... Okay. Puores ja kihtotan pohtijuotis. Mun amale Harriet Nordland ja monlen johkamohki nautjaurin ääret. Monlen pakatalli, neftat ja chanti. I will try to translate this. I want you to hear the sound of my people language, first of all. And I will try to translate this into broken English. As you know, my name is Harriet Nordland, and I'm coming from the north of Sweden. It's called a little village, only with 3 inhabitants for the moment. It's called Nautja. It's close by to Jokkmokk. Little smaller village, yeah. And my people, we are the indigenous people, First Nation people of Sweden, Norway, Finland, and Russia. They have, other people have divided us into 4 countries. The reindeer don't know if they are in Norway or Sweden or Finland or Russia. And we have to relate to that, but we are not so occupied about that fact. We are one people. We have our own language. We have dialects. If you remember, can you imagine the map? You have Norway here, Sweden here, Finland here, and Russia, it's a big one. We have our language is embedded all over the borders. So the language doesn't know about borders either. Here is the North Sami language. Here is the Lule Sami, the middle, and down here we have South Sami language. And we also have 9 dialects. So it's lots of languages, and we spell also a little bit different. So, and our language has been forbidden for many years. And when I was young, it was not. It was forbidden to speak in school, in classes. Now things has changed, and that's indigenous people, and it's 300 million indigenous people in the world, and most of them you can find in Asia. So we are belonging to that big family, that global family, if you can say it so. Let me see. We are not so many, about 80,000, 20. Nobody has ever counted us. Perhaps that's good, perhaps that's bad. We don't know how many we are. We guess we are 20,000 people in Sweden, double up in Norway, 2,000 in Finland, and only 2,000 in Russia. But we don't know, actually. So that's the basic information. We had our own way to organize the society, and we had before our own religion and things like that.
When people think of Scandinavian countries from far away, they usually think that they belong to the most progressive, socially advanced countries in all of Europe, but it doesn't seem to be true when it comes to the relationship between these countries and the Sami people.
Yeah, you have right about that. We have so long time in history having this relationship, and still when other people immigrates to Sweden, it's something new is happening. Or we have to relative to something new, but they have all in history. We have a history common. It was prehistory without any Swedes, and it was history without Swedes, and now it's modern time since the end of the 1600, somewhere there it started, and they have Christian us also. So we have many hundred years of relationship, but still it's a little bit frightening, and I think it has something to do that the traditional way of living in Sami culture is moving with the animals, not to be in the agriculture, and not. I mean, we have a common territory, but we don't own the land. We don't look at it in that way.
How do you look at the land?
Like a property owned by the whole Sami community. It's a common way. We are using it, and the gods gave it to us to have, so we could survive. We couldn't survive up in the north if we were vegetarians, for example. It's not possible. So we have these animals, and we have hunting and fishing, and nowadays a lot of way to go. You can be a teacher, you can be an actor like me, and you can be whatever you want, and still you have the connection with your tradition.
Mm-hmm. Let me come back to the issue of history, because the topic of today's conversation is storytelling, oral history, remembering, and then your work to take that tradition and turn it into plays. And you have written close to 30 plays on Sami history and culture. And could you tell us a little bit about how history is being remembered in among your people in a traditional way? The storytelling, the passing it on from the grandparents to the parents to the grandchildren.
Yeah, it's an oral culture, and oral is also knowledge about lots of things, but it's not recognized as a knowledge. If you see what I mean. In the West European way of looking at it, it's only the books and things are written down that counts, but the oral culture has a little space, but it's lots of knowledge, and we have different way of remember. We have the storytelling, as you said, and that it's about everything. I mean, also the storytelling also give you a map of the landscape. It's very exactly, you see? So we have stories about all hills, all lakes, or how to get there and what to avoid. But it's not on the paper. We tell about it, and we listen to these fairy tales or stories. And then you learn, as a little young child, you learn, when it's awful, you shall not go there. We have a monster. His name is Stallo, and his wife, and everybody knows, we will never go there because they are going to catch us then. So we avoid. I mean, when you grow up, you will notice it's dangerous to walk there. It's not good for human beings or reindeers.
So you remember through place.
Yes.
You remember through stories. And
yes.
I was thinking as I was listening to you, the word remembering in English could almost be taken apart and saying remembering, putting the body together, the body parts, the members of the body, so it becomes a whole person again.
Yeah.
And this morning we had a wonderful conversation about breathing and memory. And you're doing a lot of work with trauma under colonialism for the Sami people, and maybe we could go back to that space again, to also remembering in the body. When you say in an oral culture, what counts as knowledge and what counts as memory is really written in the body rather than in a book.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak to that a little bit? The body work that you did with the breathing, with the young people.
I'm not a teacher, I'm an artist. But I started the first Sami theater, and I have to teach in one way because it was almost closed. Their body was closed, as mine had been before. And I started to think, we have to open up here. And I start to teach about the skeleton. Because, in West European way of looking at things, you only see the front. Here it counts. It counts how you look like here. It counts the whole front. And you often front, and that's not a bad thing. But suddenly you lose your contact with the backside. And the backside here, the spine.
Mm-hmm.
That is the thing to hold us up. And this thing is connecting us with that direction and that force. This force wants you to grow. And this other force wants you to stay on earth, go further down. So we are in between these two forces. And I make exercises so they can feel the forces. And then something happened with me. I'm connected to the creation. Little me. I can feel it in my body. And of course, that's memory here.
Yes.
That's body knowledge in one way. And also we spoke about that this morning, about the breathing, and that's everything. You said in the car, breathing, it's all about breathing. And of course we also have, when people change language, you put your breathing up here, and you start to speak higher and higher like this, and it makes you a little bit tensed. And also when we start with this, it's about the L. When you're a baby, you're perfect up till when you start school. Then you have this L.
To sit in a chair.
And this divide your body into two pieces. It's incredible. You can look next time you see a baby. Take the chance to look at the baby's body. Here we have the baby. Here is the head. And this little baby can scream for hours. You know that. Never tiring the voice. Never. And how can you explain it?
Good breathing.
Because they do it in a natural way. You can see the backside. The breathing is coming here. Here is loosened. It's very smooth here. No tension at all. Everything comes from here. But when they grow up, then they have perfect bodies. Everything is natural. And then we take them to school and we do like this. Something happened with memories, feelings,
Stories.
Everything start now to be a little bit different. This is civilization. I must say, it's more like civilization process for me.
And colonialism. So as you work with the Sami people to bring the stories back, and you work with them as an actress and a director, you also work with the body to open up the flow of stories and memories coming back. And you said this very beautifully this morning as you design these plays around these ancient stories and memories, that as you work with the body, you also heal the trauma of colonialism. So it's really therapy and healing as much as it is playwriting.
Yeah.
And that for me is a wonderful bridge into talking more about your plays.
Yeah.
You yourself, together with other Sami people, wrote close to 30 plays. Is there one particular play that you would like to talk about today here in this forum and explain to us the process of how you have an idea to connect with traditional Sami culture and then bring it forward into the 21st century and then use a kind of more contemporary forum, theater and plays to connect all of this and bring it into the future?
Perhaps I start then when you put the question. Perhaps I will start with the Joy Opera.
Mm-hmm.
And now we can just listen in a traditional way of remembering.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please? This is also oral culture, and it's something special for Sami people that we have another level to communicate with each other from human to human, and also to communicate with animals and landscape. And you can also tell a story in this way of communication. It's of course a personal expression and also a communication. So we have a special level to communicate with, and I found this very interesting. So we built, we were trying, because I mean it's normal for some people, and then you have to think a little bit, what can we bring out from this? Can we use it in a modern way to put things on stage? How can we do? So we started to see that stories are often told like a line. You start here, this is Hollywood, and this is what we are used to in West European way of looking at things. We start the story here, and you have the presentation, and after the presentation of the main characters, you will have some sort of presentation of the conflict. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Still, it's here. There we go there. Which? And then the interesting question is, how will this work out? Very exciting. And we can see different scenes here, and then a solution, and then it's end. You see? But for me and my friends who were working with this, it's not so exciting, this question, what will happen? Oh, so many things are happening every day. That's not the most interesting question. It's more like, how does this work? What can we see? Can we understand more than before? So I asked an old man some years ago. He had, I think, 1,500 joiks, memories, in his body, and he could really express it. And I said to him, how do you know? It's lots of them. How do you choose? And he told me, they are coming in the wind. You have just to grab it. And new idea for playwriting. You just sit there, and suddenly a story will come to you, and if you are open-minded, you just grab it. Okay. And here it is. Wow. Whoa. What's this? This is something new. I say now, for the moment, this is the object. And the object start to turn around a little bit. I see another thing I haven't thought of before, and I see as things go on, you see, the object make you look at the object in different ways. It's like a diamond. You see it. It's not only this. It's also this and this. And this is interesting. And it starts to move in one way, around, and then go deeper and deeper. And you will have another understanding after this process, and suddenly, whoop, it's gone. So this was so interesting for us. We were trying to build on this structure. And you can, if you want to read, I have one personal, which I like very much, and she has inspired me a lot. That is Marguerite Duras. You are familiar with her? Mm-hmm. She's using this spiral thing to go into it and tell it once more, twice, and just go on telling. But it's an experience to read her, because you have to go into that process. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. You are familiar with the Marguerite Duras? Yeah,
it's amazing work. Yeah. Amazing.
Isn't it?
Yes, it really is. We talked earlier about some of your plays, and you wrote together, I believe, with a friend of yours, a play on the boarding school experience. And maybe not everybody in the audience knows what boarding schools meant to the Sami people. We had the same phenomenon here in this country for Native American peoples. You also had boarding schools in African countries after colonialism. So it's also a common experience for a lot of indigenous peoples worldwide. Could you talk perhaps a little bit about your writing the play about the boarding school, and how these different layers and different ways of looking at a story came together in that specific play?
It's similar for most indigenous people, this boarding school, and it's not an easy memory, and it's not easy in the body. So I just bunk when you said the word. we were two persons writing this. Magno Vevarsi was the other guy, and we choose to do it very freely because we were sitting and nothing will come with the wind. Because we didn't really want to go. We knew before this will hurt, huh? Because we have, both of us has been through this boarding school, so I suppose we didn't really want something to come in the wind. But so we started with a research process. That means read about what scientists have done in Canada and also in Australia with Aborigines, to just have material. And then we went to a scientist and who was working, and she really had something to add. And then suddenly, when we have facts, I mean, like facts, we started, then it came, really. And we just had one day that everything was, we have been reading so much, speaking so much, so it was, we just took notes. What do you call it? Small
little yellow post-its?
Yeah, yes. Post-its. And we just write up, first day on boarding school, poof, on the wall. And next, longing home, longing for mother, poof, and situations like that. So we just did a whole wall of these posters. And that was good. No organization, it was like a bottle or brainstorming. And from that we put together things. And how did we do that? Yeah, we think of this, some sort of very... You could hear on the tape, he was searching a little bit from the beginning. And that's typical. Just make association for the audience to feel free to associate to different things. So we did a scene in nature with an animal, a fox, and the girl. The girl was supposed to go to boarding school next day, and she didn't knew what was coming up. And the fox was there trying to get her to understand, because the fox was more clever than the girl, and that was without words. We could just, one was yoiking and one was, two of them, the fox and the girl, was just moving. And that gave opportunity for the audience to reflect or associate, whatever. Yeah.
It's very respectful to the audience, and be very aware that when you watch a play, you're, as a spectator, you're in fact emotionally and spiritually and intellectually very much a part of the story.
Yeah.
So you factor that respect for the audience in the very first scene.
Yeah.
And then if you don't follow the Western outline of setting up the conflict, and then the resolution, so then, and you want instead to look, as you showed, the object in many different ways. So how did you end the play on the boarding school if it was so hard to go into that painful memory? And here in the United States, very often, indigenous peoples talk about a lost generation. That boarding school re-educated the tribe. The children were not allowed to speak their language. Their hair was cut. They were not allowed to go home in the summers. And so the famous motto for boarding schools in the United States was coined by one of the first superintendents of those schools. And he said, "Kill the Indian, save the man." So the goal was total cultural annihilation. And to survive that is a tremendous act of courage and strength. And so how do you write the end to a play on boarding schools from a Sami perspective? If you don't, if you look at it from all these different ways, how do you do that?
You're really catching what I'm talking about. because I hear you asking that question. We really couldn't do that, so we decided, and that was not the plan, we decided to let them meet again as adults. And that was also, I mean, if we are starting with the association for the audience, it was nothing was right, nothing was bad. You can associate in which direction you want. But in the end, we let them meet as adults, and that was more close to the people today. So there you have the echo from the beginning, you see, in a circle way. So, and people were from the beginning, before the opening night, I've never had so many phone calls to the theater because people was angry. Why do you have to do this? This hurts so much. Please stop talk about this. But we wanted, we said to ourselves, we have to go through this because it block you if we don't get rid of it. We have to go through this pain and see it, and then it's not so dangerous now we are adults. You see what I mean? So we came to the end, and they could gather together as adults, remember very short things, but also be able to put words on it slightly. And it was a very strong experience for the audience, and many different reactions. I will never forget on the opening evening, it was a very old man. He never been to the theater before. And he was sitting very quietly, looking. And after the premiere, he was actually, and that's very unusual for Sami men. Sami men don't cry, never cries public, and they just never cries. And he let his tears come to the face, and then he stand up very slowly, and he said, I've been in a border school. I had to send my 2 daughters to border school. Now I know what happened with us. That was so. You have to reflect on that. Yeah, I had to do still. What did he meant? Yeah.
I think that is the healing power of theater. And that is, I think, what draws us to theater, that we can step outside of ourselves and see us as in a mirror.
Yeah.
And by looking into the mirror with a safe space, it's almost like a sacred space in the theater.
Yeah.
We are safe, we can look at it, and at that moment we don't have to do anything. We are allowed to just take it in and perceive it and be present to it. And this might be the healing power of it too. We are maybe born to be this way as human beings, that we can step outside of ourselves and look at that. And just yesterday, I read something on Jewish mysticism yesterday. Just this book came to me, and it was very fascinating to me. I read about this Jewish mystic who said that human beings are given the gift by the Creator as the only species in the whole universe, compared to angels and animals and ghosts and everybody, that we are given the gift of the imagination so that we can imagine everything.
Yeah.
Everything. The good and the bad and everything in between. And I thought, I had never thought of human beings being special in that way, that our imagination is unlimited. That is truly amazing. And I think that what you describe about the play, to remember, to bring from the body back into the space, these stories, that is a form that is profoundly in the oral tradition, and yet it uses the modern way. And as you are so brave and so courageous to go into these spaces, it becomes healing to everybody else in that.
Every word has go through the body before coming. You know, it's starting here or it's starting here. It's work its way out. And if you have, if you had bad times at that time, the body remember it, and you will feel exactly what you felt 30 years ago. The body remember, and it come up, and you have to go through that and then write, or if you do like that. And that's also, we think in theater that's a picture. I hope you can understand. We have this training all the time. We have to run. We have to have classes in that. You know, we have to have ballet, and we have to have everything, and warming up our bodies, and also our voice, and of course here. And we have this because I think this is one theory. That if we can be very open, the mystery can come in our body, and if we are like what do you say when you have something like this?
A line?
A big line from earth, and then it could, if you are really open, it could go through the body and up in the earth. There you have the connection again, but you cannot hold it, but you can open so it can be transformed through you, and that's a way of. It's a little bit philosophic, I think, but that's my picture of how an actor could be in the best moments. Let yourself go, open up for the big mystery in the creation, and let it just flow through you. And that's the gift for the audience, to be able to be there at that moment. But that has to be it must be true. You cannot pretend. You see what I mean? And every human being feels that. It's a language over everything.
It's true.
Yeah. Big moments there.
As I was listening to you, I was thinking about books again, because we are surrounded by books here, and a lot of people in our audience are librarians, and in English, the back of a book, and Craig is with us, who did the wonderful poster for you, and Craig also works in our department for restoring books, and so you call the back of a book a spine. And I'm thinking, I will never look at books again in the same way, because see, the spine of a book, in the end, it's a human person who thought it, who tried to be sincere, who tried to speak the truth. And then the book becomes a repository of that knowledge, and is then being passed on.
And
so the
also
body
the connections.
Is really, and there are the connections. And if we are in the classroom, Julie and I teach together on medieval topics. When we are in the classroom, and we try to bring these, and Julia works a lot on Beowulf, this very, very, very ancient story. And when we try to bring these ancient stories into the present with our students, it is sort of allowing that mystery to come through, to be really open in our academic work to something that's larger than all of us. And you cannot really name it. But you know when it happens, because... And all of us had those moments in the classroom when we just touch something.
Yeah.
And it's the most exciting moment in your teaching. When you say, when we do research, and these are very, very special times, and you cannot put a PhD around it, you cannot get tenure for it, you cannot give a grade for it, but we all know it exists, but we cannot really put it into words. And that, I know we have very little time with you in this room today. I want to bring our conversation back to the very opening, when you welcomed us in your own language. And we talked earlier about language revitalization programs for your people, the Sami people, and how absolutely important that is. And again, there is a parallel to first peoples here on Turtle Island, on this continent. A language is a world. You inhabit a language like you inhabit a landscape. And could you share with us, because you're so precious as a visitor to us, because we don't have many Sami visitors here. Not yet. You might open the doors for the others to come.
Hopefully I will.
But could you tell us perhaps just a little bit about the landscape of your language? What is different about your language when you compare it to Swedish to Norwegian or English? What makes the Sami language the Sami language? And you also talked about the 9 different dialects. Right? 9 different dialects you have. Can you tell us, and this is very metaphysical perhaps also, but I would love to hear more about it.
Well, we have, for example, about 300 words for snow.
Mm-hmm.
About weather, we have lots of words for rain and snow and things like that, storms, winds. And I had once I did a play, and that was really funny because you can describe persons. And in my opinion, reindeers are also personalities. So we had very strictly names on different, how they look, how old they are, how do they look like, how do they behave. And that's a lot of word. It's so much you cannot imagine. Exactly all the reindeers are put in a category, if you may say so, but it's very beautiful names. And I can just say one.
I would love that.
That is so. This is so. I have to laugh so much when I think of it. It's one reindeer. It's seldom, and you just see it when the sun touches the hip. That's the only.
Yes.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the moment you can see it. It has a little. The hair goes a little bit around like this, and you can see it when the sunlight comes here. You see it glimmered. And it's called oivak, and that's only one example of.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I think you have knowledge in the language. There you have everything. It's a word. It's not only a word. It's knowledge. How can you have to have trained ears? No.
Mm-hmm.
Look with your
Eyes.
Yeah, that's it. You have to have trained eyes, and you have name for everything, and that's wisdom, and that's good things to know. If you are going to survive, you can describe the way far away through valleys, up high mountains. You can describe exactly as the man who was yoiking, he can show the way. It's a map of first I'm coming in there, and then I look at that signs. If it's so, I can go over there. If it's too much water, I have to go around it. And it's like a map, you see. It could be like a map. So this is lovely about language, all language. And also it's very precise if it's, for example, one person walking to you. It's one word. Two person is coming to you, that's another word, because we have a thing of the Sami is the same, but it sounds a little bit different. And then when 3 people are coming, that's a lot for us. 3 people, that's a lot. It's twisted in another way. So, it's very exact language. It's very exact. And we don't have the word for war, for example. It doesn't exist. they have tried to find something like war, but we don't have it. Fight,
Wonderful.
war. No, we don't have
Beautiful.
it.
You're very lucky. That's a good thing. I'm conscientious of the time, and maybe our audience would like to ask you some questions. So why don't we open it up for the last 15 minutes to all of you?
With language being so important to your plays, I was curious if they have been translated, done any productions in translation?
Often we are performing in Sami language. I'm not the one. I'm really bad at Sami language, and that's why it's one of the reasons I'm fighting for the language so much. But it's always performed in Sami language most of the time. I must say, 98% of the time.
Yes, ma'am. Are the stories now being written down and being converted into books? Is this a way of preserving them, keeping them out? Is the oral tradition going to be preserved?
Perhaps soon, but others has written down our stories. Some of them, but it's a new phenomenon that Sami people are really writing. But we have authors nowadays, from younger people to my age and older. The first author was Johan Tori. He was born in 1711. But it's not so common. I don't know why. We are just trained to oral things. So, but we have university, we have school system, we are living in the modern time. So people now write more, draw more, and perhaps it will come out that way. We have CDs with music, with joy. You see, it's modern time, yeah. Combining the traditional knowledge and modern time, we are doing in this generation like this. And what about next generation? I cannot say. Hopefully they have it still.
And how did you become an actress? What brought you to theater in the first place?
Okay, it's very... let me see, how can I put this? It was in one way the feeling I couldn't communicate with the society around me, because I went through that boarding school, and I don't know what happened. That's a story for itself, but I really stopped like talking and things like that. So I think to go to the theater and to go to start and write, that was a process for me. It was a way of surviving. But I didn't know so much about theater. I went once on a circus, and that was amazing. I know from that moment I decided to go into the performing field. In one way I didn't know, but I think I had to do it. I never doubt about that. I had to survive, and then I had to start communicate, which you are doing. If you are a director or if you are an actor, you have to communicate. And I couldn't. I was unavailable. I couldn't do that. So my Achilles heel was my luck.
Mm-hmm.
And often it's like that in life. If you think about it, one thing you are very bad at, that could be changed until your lucky thing. Just think of the cards of the tarot.
Yes.
Tarot.
Mm-hmm.
The cards here, you have one figure, and at the same time you have the opposite side here. So this is a gift from life. And we see it, but we don't understand it. We are talking about wrong things, or I'm bad at that, I'm better on that, but just twist it around. It could be both way, and both is true.
That's true. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I like to think so.
Yes. Yes.
It makes me laugh.
Yes.
Anyway.
And it's a sign of great strength.
Yeah.
I think it's great, great, great strength. Yes. So the young people, to follow up on all these questions, how are the young people being taught the Sami culture the way you experienced it when you were little from your parents and your grandparents? Do you see continuity and the culture thriving and being revitalized and re-energized?
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that, but I also see that time has come into our lives, and that the time was not the issue when I was growing up. But then nowadays we are living in a modern time, and time has arrived in the Sami culture. I mean, we have these seasons, of course, but we don't think at time in the aspect, not like you have a beginning here and you have this so much time. Time is not in the same way. You just do what you will do, and everything is as it should be. But now the television and different other things have come to our society, so we start to think about time, you have to relate to time, We already used to relate to sunshine and dark and the weather, and that's much. Yeah, but now time is the new thing. And so we see how we will deal with that. And time is also, because we have been working together in families, and then you have to rest when you are working hard outside. Then you have this storytelling while resting. But now we don't need to work so much every day. So we don't need these pauses and these storytellings from the elders. You see? Mm-hmm. So, but still, we have Sami schools now. We have teachers, and also they bring the children up to the mountains when it's needed, for slaughtering, for example, period, for pick berries. They learn, and they are very positive, and it's better now in that sense. Mm-hmm. And they are very proud of themselves.
To be Sami.
Yeah. But we were also proud, but we were pressed down in my generation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so the Sami principle of turning something yet another way and look at it differently could be used for time. That you see, that is, and I think most of us suffer from time. I know I suffer from it. Having this mechanical, machine-like division up of processes, and I would rather like to go with the Sami way of letting processes unfold and be their own rhythm.
Yeah.
And so, but if I could take this mechanical time and make something good out of it, that would be, I think, a Sami solution, wouldn't it? Or a Sami approach to it.
Yeah, and it's good that you struggle, because then you have to stop up and reflect on it.
That's right.
And that's a good thing. It's good to struggle with things.
Yes, and look at it in different ways.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Thank you. We have one more question, perhaps, from the audience. Maybe are you students? Our next generation here. Are you?
Yes, we are.
Students, do you have a question? Or a comment you would like to make?
You are shyer than me.
Ulrika?
Yes.
Ask her to speak to how she used ballet in the theater.
Oh.
How did you use ballet in the theater?
I'm a professional trained in a Swedish Academy of Practicing Art, so then you have to know that. So I of course have all this training. My friends, they don't have it. So it's very, in the beginning I used choreographs to choreograph pieces if we just were working with music. But at that play of the boarding school, I did the movements myself, also saving a little bit money. And that was so interesting because they had no stops. They just look, and I said, we just start from anywhere. We just do, and I look and I pick. And they just improvising, and I picked up, and we combined series of movements. And when we went to Oslo, and I was a little bit ashamed because I did this because we had to save money. I knew that. Mm-hmm. But I was satisfied when I look at them. Very strange movements. And one director came to me after the performance and said, "Can you please tell me who was the choreograph? Because this was extraordinary movements. I've never seen them before." And I thought, yes, that's true. You haven't seen it before. He wanted to know the person behind. I couldn't say it was me. So crazy. So they haven't got this training. God thanks for that. In one way, it's good. I have it, but in one way, I'm not. How to say, destroyed
by the training.
Yeah, they just do it. But they are very soft in the movements because the life make you able to be not so stiff, to sit in hours like a geisha like this. They are all, but nowadays this is very, if you are a geisha or having a tea ceremony, you have to sit like this, and all the clothes has to be like this, and you have to serve, and you have seen that in reality. Have you been through a tea ceremony? You, probably once I was in a serving for 4 hours, but then it was summertime. Then I was a little bit tired. But some people in my generation and before, they are very, very soft. Also 85 years old ladies always sit like this. This is the natural, if I'm a woman, to sit. And if I'm a man, I have more choices. I can sit like this, for example, and often we lie down, resting on them. So it's good material for a choreograph, to end the crazy story.
So another connection between tradition and the modern world that we wouldn't think of right away if we heard Sami theater. So. Thank you. Well, thank you, Harriet, for being with us. And thank you, everybody, to join us. And there is a workshop tomorrow at 4 o'clock for 2 hours at the Collins Lounge. And we are just very, very grateful to you for sharing with us today. So many, many thanks.
So nice to invite me here. I'm very pleased of that. Thank you, Ulrika.